Okay, we are live, Ari, at our first Insight 25.
Excellent. Very exciting.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. My name is Jeremy Leduc, and I welcome you to Insight 25. We are super excited to be here. We've been working for months on this, and we're most excited about the lineup that we have, and we're going to show that in a second. Ari, are you gonna? Yeah, if you could start sharing your screen. We have been working on AI for quite some time, and we have a number of customers who are actually live and working with AI. And we felt coming into this year, there's no better way than to share what's happening in our insights than to get our customers to talk about it live in a webinar like this. So that's what we're doing today. That's what we're so excited about. And if you look at the lineup, we have a number of customers doing various components of our AI technology, and we're actually going to hear from them directly, right? So that is something that we're very excited about, and that's the reason we called this Insight 25, because our hope is that you walk away with some great insights. We all know AI is going to change, the world. It's changing our personal lives. It's changing our businesses, and of course, all of that starts with understanding AI. And for our part, we've been working really closely with our customers on that, and we're excited to share that with you today. So real quick first, before we jump in, if you're in the webinar itself, that's great. We've got a number of, as you can see, we've got a number of great sessions today. But the lobby that you came from in the browser, the Zoom event lobby, that's where all the events are. That's where you're going to click to them. And you can also actually just see this streaming from the lobby too. So you can just sit in the lobby actually and see every session there. And you can leave the lobby. You could leave that browser tab open all day and come, come in and out as you please. So with that, let's jump in, because we've got a great first session with our president and CEO, Ari Khan, who's here with us. And I wanted to give you an intro because of how relevant Ari's background is to what we're talking about today. Ari got a PhD in artificial intelligence in the 90s from the University of Michigan. He actually worked in the Autonomous Agents Lab, specializing in robotic vision. So he was part of an AI visual attention and anti-attention system back in the 90s. And then, if I'm not mistaken, it was late 90s, Ari, early 2000s. You then co-founded FatWire, which became one of the first content management systems, and then that sold to Oracle. Then I know you took some time off from technology, and then we fast forward to 2016, where you become one of the, I think, the largest investor in Bridgeline, which is the parent company to HawkSearch. And so here we are working on AI, which is your background and your passion.
It's nice to be back.
Great. Well, I'm going to let you kick off. I know you've got a great presentation. I'm going to sit back and look forward to watching your keynote here.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeremy. And very excited to start off Insight 25. This will be the first of many. Thanks, everybody, for taking the time to join us today. Artificial intelligence, it's been around for a long time. It's been around since really probably, got its legs in, say, the 1950s or 1960s. But even back when I was doing AI in the 1990s, building guidance systems for Tomahawk cruise missile and autonomous agents and so forth, most of it really didn't work. And today it does. And the number one area where this version of artificial intelligence, and AI is a very broad field, there's a lot of different techniques and aspects to it, but what has been working lately, what's called large language models, is particularly useful for online marketing and e-commerce. And today we're really seeing a revolution in e-commerce. We're seeing B2B e-commerce in particular really take off. 80% of sales interactions between suppliers and buyers are going to occur in digital channels this year. 90% of B2B buyers are turning to online channels as their primary method for identifying new suppliers. And 2/3 of B2B buyers are starting their purchase journey, number one step, online. So we're really seeing a revolution, especially in the B2B space, at the same time that AI is taking off. And we're looking at a $47 trillion with a T market by 2030 for B2B e-commerce alone. And if you don't get on the AI train, so to speak, right now, and I'm not talking about jumping in headfirst and doing everything, but start using it, your competitors are going to surpass you. In particular, what we're seeing is that 60% of marketing departments are already using some form of Gen AI. It could be anything from using it to create documents and images to chatbots and auto-responding online to customer requests. And one of the new Gen AI-based conversational UI patterns is search and product discovery. And this is really where HawkSearch's background is. HawkSearch is actually a broader platform. It's got a lot of components, but at the heart, search and product discovery is what HawkSearch brings to the table. And 80% of digital commerce apps will have embedded Gen AI capabilities from just 5% last year, from just 5%. And that's in part because the infrastructure, the capabilities behind AI are out of the gate mature and easy to use. And as a consequence, you have no code development systems. You have very common APIs for interacting, everything from an AWS hosted language model to one hosted inside of Azure or GCS or OpenAI and so forth. And that commonality that right out of the gate happened is enabling AI to really take off much quicker than what you would see otherwise. And in just a few years, the speed at which it is growing is going to make a monumental difference. And you don't want to let the competitors get there and you be left behind. 15%, 1/5 of day-to-day work decisions are going to have an agentic AI component to them. That's amazing, right? I mean, you're talking about more than 1 in 8 decisions have some form of AI that's helping to make them happen. And the agents are going to replace 1/5, 20% of the interactions in the online buying journey. So you're going to see this agent buying agents, selling agents, augmented experiences, all powered with AI agents, 1 out of 5 transactions in trillion-dollar markets. And 1/3 of the enterprise software apps are going to include agentic AI. And this is going from just 1% last year to 33% by 2028. So things are moving incredibly quickly. Let's take a look at things a little bit deeper. And in particular, I'd like to focus on agents. There's a lot of confusion. What is an app? What is an agent? What is AI? What's a regular algorithm? So we're going to kick off today with some basics. I hope I don't get into the weeds a little bit too much, but I want everyone to be able to understand how agents work. Now, if we look at AI in the last 20 years, from 2000 to 2022, it was mostly what I would classify as machine learning, and some technical terms are Bayesian AI and symbolic AI and expert AI. And you saw this in things like natural language processing, where you could have a basic chatbot that had very simple rules, be able to have synonym substitution and understand a couple of the difference between a pronoun and a noun, for instance, in clarifying text. Maybe some basic translation capabilities that is really just word substitution, but nothing as deep as what you see today because there was no fundamental understanding capabilities. This led to personalization. It led to recommendation capabilities. But in 2023, we saw Chat GPT. Yeah, okay, we can argue as to whether that was, the first time it made its debut, but this is when it really hit the headlines. And here you had what were called pre-trained models. You had a neural network that was able to scan billions of documents off of the internet, have essentially a model of what that language was behind it. And this powered a much deeper form of chatbots and co-pilots for content creation, and really kind of kick-started a basic interface for us to be able to add language understanding to our applications. Last year in 2024, we used that basic capability, that large language capability, with concepts like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, fine tuning, and tailored approaches to really power apps that could bring better human machine interface to the selling experience. Things like concept search, visual search, those were huge releases by HawkSearch, by the way, really made a big difference in terms of our trajectory on growth, frankly, because everybody needs concept search and visual search just to keep up with competitors today. There's a huge demand there. Smart summaries. And also, we've all been plagued with messy or missing data in our own product catalogs, and the ability to use AI and language models to fill in those holes, identify incorrect information, and even generate information as well to improve our own product catalogs. As they say, garbage in, garbage out. You can't have a good search and shopping experience if the underlying data behind that experience is incorrect or missing. Now we're in 2025. We're going to see, and look how fast we're talking about here, 2023, 2024, 2025, 1 year at a clip, and it's accelerating. We're seeing AI agents. You see Salesforce screaming about AI agents, and Microsoft and Google and OpenAI and CNN and Fox News and so on and so forth. Agents are going to be a big deal. We're going to get into that a little bit. And what that's going to lead to is next year a huge need for analytics. We have to know what our agents are doing. We can't just set them loose. And then following that, a year of accountability. Did we get AI deployed? Are we able to demonstrate the ROI? Are we keeping up with our competitors? 2027 is going to be here before you know it. We need to understand what AI agents are, deploy them, not everywhere, just get started, get on the train, measure them with good analytics, and beat our competitors. So what's going on with agents right now from a growth perspective? It's going to be explosive. In a blink of an eye, and this is really in the 90s, 2000 timeframe, .com bubble, you saw websites getting built left and right. So this is an example of explosive growth. But then we saw cell phone apps. This is, really in the 2015 time period. All of a sudden, there's, more cell phone apps than I think any of us realize. Thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Well, agents will grow even faster than those two examples, which happened in our own career lifetimes. We went from no websites to every single company, including the mom and pop deli at the corner, having a website, and huge number of apps, to a giant number of agents. We're already seeing marketplaces like agent.ai as an example that have thousands and thousands of just very simple agents, just like your iPhone and Android have thousands and thousands of pretty simple apps that are available today. And we're only talking, a few months into really the agentic AI releases. You're seeing freemium models. You're seeing agents that can behave like people by essentially screen scraping and clicking and typing into websites, so they don't have to have direct access to the underlying data. And you're also seeing agents that are able to launch other agents. In addition to marketplaces, there are many no-code building systems. This is because agents fundamentally, and we'll get into some details on this, really operate at a natural language level as opposed to at a traditional functional coding and parameter and process invocation level. And as a consequence, it becomes incredibly easy to build agents. And this leads to every kid graduating from college being able to create a cute little agent and pop it into a marketplace like agent.ai, to our own business people who may not have the time or experience to be programmers, but understand true business needs to be able to automate and create agents in a drag and drop interface. And maybe those end up also being in a marketplace or as part of your own company's infrastructure. So the growth is even faster than cell phone apps or websites experienced. So the big confusion, and it's not a black and white line, is what is the difference between an agent and an app? We've got AI apps. We've got this new thing of agents. Is an agent just an app that kind of runs in the background and lives for a while, or is it something that's fundamentally different? Is an agent just a workflow like we've had since the 1980s, or is it something that's fundamentally different? And it is a little bit different. When we talk about AI apps, they're generally standalone products. They're things like the chatbot on the side of your website. They follow a traditional invoke response framework, and what that means is that you have some code in the background that calls the AI app, or you have a form on a website that calls the AI app, and it has a single response for each call. And what is different between an AI app and just a traditional app, like an email form, you fill something out and it opens up and now you can access a PDF behind it, for example, and receive an email, is that the AI apps use large language models in the background. And this enables them to really operate at a conceptual versus a literal level. And what I mean by that is that you're passing information into AI apps in really in natural language, in imprecise human speech. And the fundamental representations behind the scenes is able to tease out from that imprecise natural language input what the true needs are. Think in terms of the chatbot, for example, and either ask clarifying questions if there's not enough context to figure out how to respond, or give a proper response. They're also able to generate human-like responses. So we see things like text creation tools. We see things like image creation. So there it feels very human-like in the background, and that also is based on the large language model. And we talk about AI today, the large language models, which are neural networks, are kind of the heart of that. And we power basic statistical things with these language models, like frequently bought together, which Amazon has had for a long time. In fact, some people might call that more of a Bayesian approach and not requiring the latest large language models to execute. But on the agent side, we see things that are different. Agents, you can almost think of them like interns. You can think of them like parts of your team. And agents watch the environment. They plan based on what they see. They act based on what they plan. They replan continually. Agents are able to team up with each other, and they persist. They have a life. They don't just die after they finish their action, but they can stick around and reappear later or be resurrected by another agent, and they never forget. Agents, the first characteristic that I'm going to describe is what I mean when I say agents watch. Agents have essentially sensors, right? An agent might be managing the temperature in your own living room and measuring a sensor. But a sensor may also be a natural language prompt where we type something into a search dialog box on an e-commerce site, as an example. And one of the amazing things that agents do, and this is really very similar to what you see inside of a traditional AI app, is that they can ask clarifying questions and tease out what the real commands are. Or if they're using a sensor, execute additional senses and pull out the details as to what they should be doing, because they're using what are called vector embeddings behind the scenes. The information that's coming in, be it the temperature in your room or a request from an e-commerce site or an image that was dragged into the into a dialog box, are all passing through a large language model in the background and creating a conceptual representation, which I'm going to use the term understanding, general understanding of what that input is, and having that as the basis for the command. So we don't need to be precise with an agent. We don't have to say exactly, I want to buy a shoe. We can just drag a picture that happens to have someone wearing a shoe and a bunch of other stuff in it, and the agent understands there's a shoe in there, a shoe store, I better do something with this shoe. Agents watch, but the second characteristic is that they actually plan. And this is really interesting. Agents, we've had workflows for a long time. Workflows are created by people. People define something that looks like essentially a chart, a sequence of steps. Maybe there's some branches in there, but workflows are rigid. Once somebody creates them, they can be very complicated, but that's it. They are locked in, and the actions that workflows perform are very specific. I get to each stage in a workflow. I maybe call a particular function in the background, and that's it. Agents plan. Planning is different than a workflow. You can think of ChatGPT and generative AI. You can say something like, what are the steps to bake a cake? And it creates a plan for you, a sequence of steps. Depending on what you've interacted with in the past, like you were just talking about how much you like chocolate, it may give you a slightly different plan than if you were in a different context. But very importantly, and very different than a workflow, an agent's plan is not rigid. At every step of the way, based on sensors, input, even changes to its own knowledge base and analytics behind the scenes, the plan is continually being reevaluated. And it reminds me of the famous statement from Douglas MacArthur, no plan ever survives first encounter with the enemy. And that is a fundamental capability behind agents plan versus workflows. It is not rigid. It is continually reevaluated. And the reevaluation is based on tons of information, its interaction, the results from the last step in the plan, new information that is being learned. It is a completely different concept than workflow. And a great example of that, actually, when I was in graduate school, one of my advisors, Jim Furby, I haven't even thought of him in years, but I'm giving him a little shout, had his thesis was reactive action packages. And this was a robotic system that was reactive, and it continually replanned, similar to Waze, where traditional mapping would have a plan to get from here to the store, and it would say which streets to use. But Waze is continually replanning, in that if a traffic jam happens or you miss a turn or whatever, it adjusts the path that it's recommending and gets you to the store based on whatever traffic and other events are occurring. This same reevaluation of a plan, continual, that Waze does, good old Jim Furby did back in the 1990s with his raps, is how agents operate. Now, the third fundamental characteristic behind an agent is that agents act. Agents have actions. They invoke an action. This means that they are able to either respond to their to the user, or they're able to store data in a database, or even cause an action like changing the temperature in your room. And in order to act, there has to be a bridge. A bridge is essentially when you've got a sequence of functions that can be performed, all the things that a human could do with the system. So if we look at HawkSearch, for example, we can set synonyms, we can boost and bury rules and so forth. All the things that someone can do manually inside of the interface need to be able to do programmatically. But then all of those actions need to have a high-level natural language description that will allow them to that allow the agents through a bridge to understand conceptually what has to happen with each action, and be able to invoke that action at the concept level, or even ask clarifying questions to figure out how to invoke the action. Fourth characteristic behind agents is that they do have the ability to team up. Just in the same way that an agent may invoke an action like setting a synonym in your e-commerce site, they can invoke an action like launch another agent that monitors the click-through rate for certain of my products. And if one of them has a poor click-through rate, to evaluate its product description and image, and suggest an even better image and product description to the rest of the merchandising team if appropriate. So agents do not live alone. And agents persist. This is not necessarily something new. We've all had, background processes in computer science for a long time, but it's important to remember this about agents. You can set and forget that an agent is operating out there, and then it'll come back. And this is where it also becomes very important that you have a tailored approach with agents, meaning that you don't just have an agent running all by itself, but that it comes back and interacts with people, so that even if you have hundreds of agents out there doing basic tasks and most of the time not doing anything at all, that they still check in with you once in a while before they act. Now, this leads to analytics. And as an analogy, imagine that you've got your daughter is going off to college and you give her a credit card. You're probably not going to wait till the end of the semester before you find out how much money she spent, right? In the same way, you need to have continual monitoring with your agents. You're not just going to set an agent out in the middle of nowhere and find out what happened at the end of the quarter when you've got to measure your results. Core part of having good agent deployment is to have great analytics. Ridgeline is releasing its HawkSearch analytics package with a full data lake, data warehouse, and independent reporting tools connected to it, because the data behind what an agent has done needs to be available not only to you and your team, but also to the agent and other agents themselves, because they can build on each other. And that's where you need to have a great foundation, fundamental data warehousing and lake behind the scenes. And then you can bring in any reporting tool that you want. And you can bring in any other agent or application that you want, and they can all access that information. And you also need to have a great reporting system and alerting system, so that the agents are able to alert and ask you questions rather than stall out or make decisions completely in a vacuum. And this all leads to accountability 2027. With AI agents, we all have a great opportunity to beat the competition. We're going to start small. There's going to be a lot of small capabilities that we can add along the way. Have to take a tailored approach where we're augmenting our team, not outsourcing our team to agents. And this is going to allow us to have 24/7 basic tasks, kind of the stuff that you would have for an intern, for example, or a junior teammate, being performed so that you can focus on the big things. Because fundamentally, the technology behind large language models and neural nets can only do so much. It is fundamentally just a statistical curve fitting algorithm. I used the term understanding earlier, but large language models can only understand the what. What is the next number after 1 and 2, but not why. They can understand why 3 would be the next number. And they only are able to figure out the what's based on just the statistics of what they've seen in the past. If you show an AI model that 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 1, 2, buckle my shoe, you show them a bunch of data with that, and you ask them what the next term is after 1, 2, it's going to tell you buckle, because it doesn't have an understanding of why buckle is there. That's because it's a song. And why 3 might be there, that's because it's a sequence. We're going to have a great set. Oh, Jeremy's back. Lined up for you. I mean, we're pretty high powered. I'm very proud of all of our people that are going to be joining us today.
Yeah, our customers and our partners alike. It's going to be great. So Ari, that was awesome. I was sitting backstage listening. That was fantastic. Thank you. I know we're a couple minutes over here, and our next session has actually already started with Keith at Prestwick House. So so thanks everybody for joining this. And if you want to keep going, then if you're in the lobby, then the next session's already started. And if you want to join the Zoom app experience, then just go into the lobby and hit the next session. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Ari.
Thank you.